It is nearly December. We are in Montana. We have a little bit of snow, and we're going to give you an update today. It's been about a year since we have been using the root cellar, and some people are asking, how is it doing? And to share some details, so that's what we're going to do today.
Yeah, you never know on a big project like this if something catastrophic might go wrong in a year's time. But It's 10 below this morning. Woke up pretty confident that it's going to be just fine down there.
Yep. As you watch this video, please feel free to use the included time codes as we skip around quite a bit while we give you a tour of the building, talk about how the produce is holding up, share a little bit about building upgrades and future upgrades, what we would change if we were to change anything, temperature and humidity, and give some final thoughts on the building. So to start out this video, one of the questions we were asked is, how is the cellar working after year's time? And the short answer is, it's been so great. We have been so glad that we made this. Let's take you inside. Something that we did modify a little bit is this entrance right here, which we're still kind of deliberating about it as far as like the slope and worried about any water that might come in the future if we get a really big rainstorm or something like that. We do have that French drain, I will call it, in front of the doorway in case we do get a lot of water, to have the water go down instead of into the cellar is the thought. The slope is a little bit better for walking. Another thing that we changed is right here. We added some different lights than the ones that are in our video earlier. So everything is on one switch right here. And this light is the same, but once I get inside, they will be a little bit different. So come on in. Excuse the meat hanging if that's something you're opposed to. This has been a really amazing benefit that we didn't know was going to be a benefit. Here in Montana, deer and elk, antelope, those are big things that we eat all the time. It's a really important staple in our diet, and for our family, we really like that we have the opportunity to get that. So we have some deer hanging right here. The deer hanging right here, it does not have like that layer of film that it would get if it was hanging outside, which has been really a nice thing. It's also set up with a really good temperature, so we're not worried about it spoiling, and we're not worried about it freezing, because if it was outside hanging up in a barn or something like that, it would be frozen solid right now. And if you've ever cut up meat, you know you need it thawed when you go to process the rest of this animal. Cut it up, make it into steaks and burger, or whatever you're gonna make it into. Now I will say this isn't a long-term storage by any means. This is kind of like keeping it in a fridge. And that's what we treat it as. So this meat is due to be processed today or tomorrow at this point. Right here we have a dozen Instacrates filled with potatoes, and they are all sorted into the different varieties. So we have our red potatoes we've been keeping for a long time. We have our Pinto Gold potatoes. We have our Harvest Moon. And then we have our white potatoes. And we know we have enough for us for the winter, probably a little bit too much. I will say that last year when we put potatoes in the cellar, we had the most success in the spring with the potatoes coming out rock hard and not really eyeing out and being great quality in the springtime when we were going to get our seed potatoes, because these become our seed potatoes to replant them. This variety in particular though, this is Pinto Gold. They are starting to eye out this year. We had these ones last year and they weren't eyeing out, but we think it's due to a couple of things. So earlier in the season, we were storing some apples that we had purchased because we don't have our own apple trees yet. So we'd purchased some apples and we put them down here, and they release a lot of gas. It was very fragrant in here like apples, but we think it kind of impacted the potatoes a little bit and made them start to eye out a little bit. This variety as well, this is Harvest Moon. I see some eyes forming on some of them, and we are at the end of November. It'll be December before you see this video, probably, unless I edit it really quickly. But that's just something to consider, is how the produce impacts each other, which is something that we're learning in this process. And this past growing season, while all of our potatoes were out in the field growing, we still had potatoes and we kept eating them and they tasted great. We never bought a store-bought potato this last year at all, and we're hoping this next year, even well into the spring and summer, we don't buy any store-bought potatoes. And you might think, why would you care about buying store-bought potatoes? They're so cheap. The reason is because Store-bought potatoes are not processed and dug up and all of that the same way that potatoes from your garden will be. So what I mean by that is in these big potato fields, a lot of time what they do is they need the tops of the potatoes to die so they can run the big harvesting equipment through there. And a lot of times what they do is they use some sort of a chemical to kill off the tops of the potatoes so that you're not risking frost and waiting for them to frost and die off, or the potato plant itself to just be done. So they take it into their own hands, and I've heard that that's what they do a lot of the time. Another method that may also happen is burning off the top of the potato plant in order to harvest, which I don't think that's as common. That would be a better method in my book, though, as far as thinking about what you're eating. You're harvesting those potatoes, and I don't want any chemicals around ours. So in short, that's a really good reason to grow potatoes, even though they're super cheap at the store. And that's why we do it. Plus, they're really good. They taste really good. They keep all year, and we have all our seed potatoes for next year. Moving on, something else that we have in here that I didn't expect to have in here are peppers. Look at these. They are firm. It is the end of November. They have turned color while they've been sitting in here, which has been interesting. Some of the tops are getting a little bit, like this is an example of one that's not actually holding up. So we're getting a little bit of like mold on the stem there. And this one's splitting. This one I'm actually going to pull out and throw. But look at this one. Here's another one. Green top. No mold. Nothing gross going on with it. Perfectly good jalapeno from our garden in Montana in December pretty much. These were probably picked in September, and they've been just sitting in here in an open crate that long. It's kind of amazing. It's a benefit I didn't think we'd have. Over here, let's look at this tub. We have some more peppers. These are chilies, I believe. Okay, so I would use these probably, I mean, you could eat them fresh for sure. I would use these for cooking. This stem has a little bit of yuck going on, but not a huge deal. So I'm probably due to pick through this. Look at some of these though. Isn't that pretty? Nice shiny skin still.
Should bite into one.
But they're probably spicy. You want me to bite into one?
Mm-hmm.
Well, which ones are not going to be spicy? These aren't chilies. These are sweet peppers. They're pretty good. Inside of there, that's what that looks like. Just snapped it open. I mean, that's a good pepper. It's been down here for like 3 months. Oh my gosh, it is spicy up top. I got a seed. I don't know what kind of pepper that was. It's getting a little spicier. Not for me. I don't like spicy. Ugh. The sweet part of the pepper was good, not the spicy for me. Something else we have down here that I've just put down here are all of my dahlia tubers. These I'm not sure if they're storing that well down here. I've been really monitoring these. Like, do you see that little bit of like mold growth right there on that one? But let me dig one up. This year I started getting into dahlias because, man, they're really pretty. But here's one of them. It's still really nice and firm. Looks great. I did do the peat moss method as far as storing them for the winter. They have been moved in these little tubs though, a lot. I started with them down here in paper bags and did not have them separated and had a little bit of dirt on them still and all that. They got way too wet down here. And at that point in the year, we had a ton of produce down here still, and they were letting off a lot of moisture and a lot of gases and all of that they just naturally let off, and it was making these mold. So at that point, I took the dahlia tubers in, I washed them, I dried them, I divided them, did all of that. Then they went into these tubs in the peat moss layered, none of them touching, all of that business, and put them in the house. They started to, in the house, root out a little bit. So this is a good example of one where I still see a little root right there. So that environment was probably too warm. So then I moved them into the garage, and the garage isn't stable. Kept them in there for a little while, but now I've moved them back down here as winter has set in a little bit more, and the garage is not something I can count on. Can't put them in the crawl space, it's too warm. So we'll see how they do over the winter. That I don't know about from last year. Something I do know about from last year though, that did really well in the cellar were all of our pickled items. Specifically our pickled items, because we don't water bath our pickled items. We just choose not to. We choose to do that method so that they're really crisp and crunchy. These are banana peppers here. We have jalapenos, regular pickles, and I think that's all we have over here. But this works really well. We will keep doing that. Something else we have are beets. These were washed for a market, and they're not supposed to be. So that's a little less than optimal as far as storage, but they're still pretty firm. And if we get a craving for beets, we'll eat them. I don't know that we will. I prefer them pickled, but we have them if we need them. We have a couple more tubs of potatoes over here, just kind of like an extra inventory. We're going through all of this inventory first, except for this bucket right here. These are our Huckleberry Gold potatoes. These are all strictly seed potatoes. We are not going to do anything with those eating wise. Those just need to stay down here so that we can have buckets over here of Huckleberry Gold. Next year we just accidentally mixed variety buckets, and we know these are huckleberries, so we're gonna keep them separate. And the last thing that we have done here are 3 tubs of patty pan squash, and these are down here because we couldn't sell them and we grew way too many of them this year. We're kind of done with eating them ourselves at this point, so they're kind of just down here, but they're keeping pretty well. Some of them we have like a little bit of mold growth on the stem, kind of like before in the peppers, but they're keeping pretty well. So produce wise and meat wise, that's what we have going on down here. I want to talk more specifically about the building. Putting in the lights was really an important thing. Last year we had put in just one track of lights that was down the middle, and you couldn't see very well in here. It made using this space as far as packaging boxes for CSA and also just like walking around in here and seeing what you have in here really hard. So that was a very necessary upgraded. Those are on a 12-volt battery, which is right down there, and a solar panel. So there's a 12-volt battery system, and they're on a solar panel that is up above, and the solar panel is run up through the vent pipe over in the corner there that goes all the way to the ground. And that's just so we don't have to spend time charging that battery. So that just makes that a little bit easier. And I have a bit of a funny story about the lights. This last summer, we were having people come down here to get sweet corn and all sorts of things. And there was a lady down here, a really nice lady, picking up some sweet corn. And our kids really thought the new light switch right by the door was really a fun thing to use. So they were outside in the little breezeway area while she was down here picking up her stuff, and they shut the door on her and turned off the lights, and they just thought it was hilarious. But that poor lady was in here in the pitch black. So just a little bit of a caution if you have some like kind of crazy kids, that maybe the light switch by the door, there's a couple downsides to it if you're in here and you don't have another light source. Some people asked what we would do differently if we were to redo the space. And my husband and I talked, and we had a couple of thoughts on that. What do you think?
The only regret I think we have is doing 4-inch pipe instead of what we did was 3-inch pipe. Mm-hmm. We should have used 4, definitely.
So what he's talking about are the vent pipes. So we have a vent pipe over in that corner that goes all the way to the ground, and it collects the air from the bottom on the ground level. And then we have a vent pipe over in that upper corner that helps circulate the air throughout the building, and it's just over in the top over there. And we went with 3-inch.
Mm-hmm. And the 3-inch condenses moisture as the warm air is leaving the root cellar here in the winter, and it'll freeze shut. And if you had 4-inch, I don't think it would be able to as easily. And
also, this summer when this place was packed, like we couldn't be in here together. It was like a row right through the middle you would have to walk. When it was packed with like sweet corn, potatoes, all of the eggplant and peppers, and just like so many different kinds of produce, there were a lot of fumes or gases that were being released, and it was kind of like it would hit you in the face when you'd open the door. And we were really cautious about not shutting all the doors and shutting ourselves in here, just in case there was some sort of an issue where it like made us pass out or something crazy like that. So that was another issue, and we think maybe the 4-inch vent pipe could have helped with that.
Yep.
So that's just something to keep in mind. In the video that we made documenting the build of this, we talked about, we went with the 3-inch, it's what we chose to do. I think we would have upgraded to the 4-inch. And it's not that much pipe either, like cost-wise.
I thought
should have just done it.
I thought it was going to let too much cold air, warmer in, and that's why we went 3. I thought 3 was big enough, but obviously not.
Yeah.
The one time we did pack it full, I think we had like 500 years of corn in here, and it was just like a little deer trail, like Ray was saying, to get in here and access things. And we had a market the next morning. We packed it full on Friday night, and I came back out here on Saturday morning at 5 in the morning, and it was dark out, and opened the door, and it was just like hot in here. It was 60 degrees in the root cellar. All that produce was off gassing and like holding heat from the field in or whatever it's doing.
Yeah. So that is something else to consider that we didn't really consider, is that when you bring a lot of produce, like I'm talking a lot of produce in from the field, it is hot from the field and it off gases and it makes heat. It's warm, and this space is cooling from the ground and the soil, but it's not like a refrigerator, as in it's not actively cooling by like circulating air with electricity. So that is a big difference. Of course, you don't have that electricity cost, which is nice, and why we wanted to do it, as well as like so much stuff freezes outside here. We can't keep all this in our crawl space.
As a market farm, though, we were just using it because it's what we had, and we didn't have time to build a walk-in cooler, which we're doing this winter. So next year we won't have that issue. All that like green stuff like corn and whatever else, can go sitting there. And this can be just mostly like root crops, obviously. And, peppers do great down here. Eggplant do really good down here. They'll keep forever. Squash, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Not what
Like
we haven't.
Summer squash, yeah.
Yeah, summer squash, he means, will keep really well down here. Winter squash is up in our pantry inside the house in kind of a cool room. So we haven't done winter squash in here, and I don't think you're supposed to. You can let me know in the comments, though, if I'm correct about that.
Root cellars are just kind of for root crops, I guess. And so if you're going to build one yourself or thinking about building one, what is it, 8x12?
Yep.
It's probably bigger than most families need. Almost for sure. I mean, look at how much empty space we have in here, and we have way more food in here than we can eat this winter. And so you could probably make one a lot smaller and still get a lot of use out of it.
Now, if we were going to put all of our pantry, like canned jars down here, this would become tight, I think, if we had just shelves with all of the canned produce. Yeah. So this would become tight, but it is like a nice, cool space where you're not going to lose a lot of jars to them becoming too warm, like we did with our pickles.
Temperature wise, I'd say for the year, it's in the summer it's getting up to like 50 maybe, and in the winter it dips down into the upper 30s. Yep.
So I will monitor temperature right now. I have 2 of these little sensors. I just brought 2 to compare them to each other, and I'm going to put one in the cellar here. Well, actually, we know we have to put them up on the ledge up there because the soil above this will prevent them from reaching the house. So we'll put these up, and then we will take you inside to tell you what the temperature is in here right now and what the humidity is in here right now, according to these little sensors.
Another funny fact on that line of thought is your cell phone doesn't work down in here.
No.
So a lot of people will talk about like this is a bomb shelter or whatever. And it's like, yeah, I guess. Pretty heavy duty.
Yeah, and then it brings me back to that poor lady that got trapped down here for like 2 minutes. Poor thing, couldn't have even like turned on her phone and tried to call us if the door was locked, which we put non-locking doors for that reason because it's a little creepy. But anyways, we're getting sidetracked. I'm gonna have John put these up on the ledge up there so that when we get inside we can tell you what it is in here as far as temperature. I'll put one over there, one there. I'm inside now, and it's been about an hour later because I wanted to make sure to get a more accurate reading with that door shut. So both zone 1 and 2 are the sensors that are down there, and they are pretty similar. So 46 degrees and then 63 or 64% humidity. So that's nice that they're very similar right now. On this one right here, this one is just somewhere outside that sensor. I don't really know where it is. We need to find it, but it's warmed up to 13 degrees outside with 63% humidity. I am pretty sure though, if we left that door on the cellar shut for a while longer, these two, the humidity would go up. But we were just down there an hour ago, so just take that into consideration. In the house, that's what this reading is right here, 68.1 and 42% humidity. We do have two thermometers in here right now, so this one says it's about 45 degrees in here right now. And this one is also about 45, so we should be about 45 degrees in here right now. It is 8 a.m. the next day, and as you can see, the humidity has went up in there quite a bit, so 83% or 84% right now. Something else I want to talk to you about is about the vent pipe that is up on the ceiling here. Something we're going to be doing very soon is putting some sort of a water catch pan right here, because it will drip right here. You can see the ground right here is wet, and there's just a lot of moisture coming down that pipe and condensing up there, and a simple little pan up here would help catch it. Then we could use this space, because right now you can see I'm kind of in this little corner, and we are putting no produce right here because it would get wet and ruined. So that's something we're going to be adding very soon. We just haven't done it yet. It's a really easy thing, but just something to keep in mind so that you can use all of your floor space. If you watched our build video, you know we deliberated and discussed a lot about this wood roof. There has been no issue that we can see with our particular environment. Something I did notice though was last spring, after, you know, we boxed this place up and we try not to come in and out unless we needed to, there was the slightest bit of, I'm not really sure if it was mold or if it was like cobwebs and like just like a film buildup of like debris and like yuck, pretty much dust on some of the boards a little bit. So we came in here with some bleach water in the summer, aired it all out and bleached everything, and I'm going to keep an eye on it this winter to see if we have an issue with that. The reason that we went with a wood roof in our environment is because, well, if you go watch our build video, it was like building in the Sahara Desert. It was dry. We found a bunch of trash actually in this site, and it was very well preserved. Papers that we could fully read that were fully intact.
From 1978.
Yeah. Chip bags that weren't degrading at all.
Yeah.
There was a lot of evidence that we weren't going to have like a big moisture issue here, so we thought a wood roof would be okay, and I'm not sure we're wrong about that. But what I didn't know is that there is a lot of moisture and humidity coming up through the soil. And I didn't know that that would be something that just happens. And then we have the vent pipe circulating the air, and they condense and create moisture. So thinking about what we might have done differently, we might have opted to go with a different setup for the roof. We might have used all treated wood no matter what, because some of that wood you can see if there is not treated. The plywood on top is treated, but some of those 2x12s are not treated. And we might have changed that. He says no. I say, I think we might have. So since we're different on that opinion, that kind of goes to show you like it's still working really well. It's kind of just like I'm thinking about years to come. After years of sitting in this environment, is the roof good? We'll see. We're going to get our use out of it.
Yep. Overall, we're extremely happy, super happy we did it. It was worth every penny and all the work we did, especially for our lifestyle.
Yes, for sure. So if you're curious, just how much did it cost for us to build this? We have a video on our channel documenting that. I will put in the show notes below. We also have a video on the whole build. We also have a video on how it did as far as last spring. So after all winter, what the crops ended up looking like. If you're curious what the food looked like then, go ahead and find one of those videos. They will all be in the show notes. I will also put some at the end of this video if you want to click on those. That's it for this video. If you have some more questions on this root cellar, please leave them in the comments and maybe we'll address them in the future. And we really appreciate you tuning in and following our journey on all the stuff we're doing here.
Thanks for watching. Stay tuned. We'll probably put a video out of our walk-in cooler build someday here.
Yep, coming this winter. All right, bye.